Hi, this is Dan Sullivan, and I'm here with Jason Smith and also with Ed Slott. And we're here and we're in the series that we call the Deep Support Platform, which is directed just at talking about all the issues related to the kinds of deep support that financial advisors need in the 21st century so that they can provide the deepest possible support to their clients. Last time we got the big overview, sort of the story of how each of you started from your respective kind of conventional, profession, started in the profession. Ed, you as a CPA, Jason as a life insurance agent, and how you got to the point where you've each created an organization that provides just really unique types of education that's not available anywhere in the world for financial advisors right now. So I thought in this episode we really get down to what advisors really get when they come. First of all, Ed, to your programs, to your seminars, to your conferences, and I know there's a lot of different dimensions to what they get from you, but if you had to just start it off by sort of identifying the three major areas of improvement that they get just by being associated with you, what would the three big areas be?
Well, one, again, is confidence, which only comes with higher education. And the other thing is they realize the sky is unlimited. One of the things I love when they come to, say, our first 2-day program, I love to see, it happens every time, about 2 hours into it, sometimes less, you see an advisor run out of the room. He made a horrible mistake. He just heard something, and I love when that happens. Or the other way, he got an idea and didn't even want to wait for a break on how he could talk to somebody he might have been working with it that just put them over the edge. And I hear these stories in the breaks. And the other thing is they realize how much they don't know. Remember, people that are attracted to educational programs are educated themselves and motivated themselves, and now they're in a room with other similarly motivated people. But a lot of them think they know a lot before that. You have these people, I wouldn't say know-it-alls, but they know enough. They've been to enough programs, and the first thing we hear them say is, I didn't know how much I didn't know. And I said, that's your competitive edge. Most advisors don't know that they don't know, so they're in happy land till a whole house of cards falls down around them.
Okay, now in relationship to your specialty, which is the Tax Act,
the taxes,
and especially the withdrawal of savings, tell me three things that they don't know that they get.
All right. Well, one, they know that the money is made both on the consumer side and their value as an advisor on the back end, the distribution side. You know, anybody can make money in investing. Well, not anybody, but it's more commoditized. And if you make money, the market goes up, you make money. Market goes down, you lose it. It goes back up, you get it back. If you lose it to taxes, you'll never get that money back. And that's where they realize the concept of fatal errors, where people lose their retirement savings, and they don't want it to happen on their watch, and they never realized that it could. It could affect their whole future business, the families of the people that they were relying on, and they realize they have a huge competitive edge, a story to say that separates them from every other kind of advisors. Taxes are the single biggest factor in the future that will separate people from their retirement savings, and they know how to address it, and that brings in big business for them. And I love their success stories. I love to hear about the stories of the successes they're having just by talking about the things they've learned in our program.
Yeah, one thing before I go to Jason, I realize just from knowing you that when you present, you're both good cop and bad cop. And so what's the good cop story of painting a future for them of the particular type of what I would say knowledge they're going to have, strategy, that's just going to make a sheer difference, something they're going to learn in the first day that's going to make a difference for the rest of their life. That's sort of the good cop, and tell them about the horror stories that are taking place right with their clients right off the bat, that unless they provide protection to their clients, it's going to be a horror story for them and for their clients.
Well, the horror story first is not doing the proactive planning. You don't want to be on the reactive side. That's where I grew up from, telling people, what did you do? And it's too late to fix it. You know, the whole concept of people say, oh, I like an advisor who's a problem solver. I like a guy who's a problem finder before it becomes a problem. That's the position these guys are in, so bad things don't happen on their watch. And it's always funny when I talk about real stories, tax cases, real people that lost their retirement savings and lost money to attorneys and everything else because they had to go to court. They always laugh at those stories. And I said, well, that could be you if you weren't here. You know, they laugh at it, but it's like a funny laugh. And then you'll see people thinking, I wonder if that could happen with me. And they see a bigger future, that this involves everybody who's saved any money for retirement. Plus, the tax rules are always changing, so they always have new material from us, whether it's from our monthly newsletter, our alerts that go out to our advisors in our network. And so they're constantly new inventory of ideas that nobody can compete with.
Yeah. So what I'm going to have you think about as I'm talking to Jason is actually just an individual that you can actually describe what happened to this individual. Okay. That would be a favorite success story for you, okay. You know, because it showed such a tremendous transformation, both in the person's attitude, which is really crucial, but also just in terms of their performance. So I'd like you to think about that. Jason, what do they get?
Well, I guess the three main things, Dan, would be our commitment, our organization to focusing on net profitability. And it really ties directly into the next two, but net profitability is so challenging right now in the financial services industry because of a few things. Number one, the commissions have been steadily dropping over the course of the years. And so as those commissions drop, obviously your income drops, so that's gonna affect net profitability. The fee for assets under management, that's become so competitive with the big bureaucratic organizations of the world that continue to drop fees and make it more and more competitive and difficult for us as advisors to really charge a fee to be able to earn the type of income we need to properly support the clients. So our focus on net profitability, because of what's happened through the changes in the industry, is a little bit different than most of our competitors. Most of our competitors are really focusing on how much an advisor can write, how much production he can do. And it doesn't matter how much it takes them to spend to do that, that's what they're advertising. We are very clearly focused in on net profitability of the advisor. So in the second, what we've done to support net profitability is built everything into systems and processes. Like I mentioned before, I mean, there's basically been unique processes that have been built for new client acquisition, marketing, sales, practice management, everything and all the support an advisor would need to focus in on getting in front of more people in the most cost-efficient manner. When you get in front of those people, being able to be paid for the process that you take them through a planning fee model, and really that the systems and the processes and the way we've developed those is gone a step further through an e-learning module because everybody learns differently. Everybody kind of absorbs information differently. So we built it into audios, videos, checklists, scripts, everything that they would need to be able to plug and play and implement the processes that we've talked about. And then thirdly, we assign an individual coach to each one of our advisors. So both for accountability and coaching and mentoring to be able to implement the processes and systems that we've put in place to focus in on their net profitability.
Mm-hmm. Ed,
I've got so many stories.
Yes.
But one of the things we have is a system, which, that's where I conceptualize in my years as strategic coach. I call it the competition eliminator system. Mm-hmm. And it's a proactive series of modules so people find these problems before. And that's the stories I love when people come back to me. And one of the stories I got was actually just this morning I was thinking about from Jason. He was telling, matter of fact, he might be able to tell the story. He says, I got this call from somebody who just wanted to do business with me.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I've received a number of referrals, by being an Ed Slott Elite IRA advisor over the course of
But they're what I
years.
call reverse cold calls. I came up with that term.
It was kind of shocking. I love that term.
Well, because most
cold calls.
advisors are in this world, I got to make cold calls. Like you said, I have the cards, I got to go out, knock on doors. I don't know who these people are. What happens in our group, I call it reverse cold calls. People that see maybe my show on public television or know about me, they go to our website and they say, they make what I call a reverse cold call. They're calling him and our other advisors cold. They say, I just want to work with you.
They called into my office. They set up an appointment. I showed up for a first appointment prepared to explain the process that I take clients through. And she has her statements and says, we want to sign these accounts over to you. It's the first time I've ever had, and it threw me off. I love the reverse cold call because I was kind of shocked and didn't know really how to respond. I mean, but her son-in-law, who's an attorney, did the research online, found me as an Ed Slott Elite IRA advisor, did a little bit of background check. She showed up with the paperwork to transfer the money over to me at that first meeting.
I love those stories, my reverse cold call stories. We start every meeting with our positive focus or our version of it. And we love to hear these success stories where clients are coming to them, asking to do business with them. Look at how much money is invested in the marketing of these big organizations, begging people to work with them. We have turned that around. And the clients, the ones you want, the ones with money, they want to work with competent, educated advisors.
You know, what I'm getting, Ed, you talked about the 1986 Tax Act, and what came across to me is that there's a crisis at the level of the consumer simply because they're not getting the support from the financial advisors. But there's a second crisis, and it's at the level of the financial advisor in the sense that they're not at all prepared for this new marketplace. And on a scale of 1 to 10, from your knowledge, Jason, because you go to all the other industry meetings, and Ed, you're meeting with hundreds and thousands of these financial advisors, a person who would be considered a good, normal financial advisor, has the number of years sufficient to get experience and to get a reputation in the marketplace, just average on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are they to actually do all the things that you provide to them in your platform? I mean, when they walk in the door on a scale of 10, where are they,
how prepared are they, Dan? There are 2, there are 3. I mean, they're so unprepared because there's just been such a stray away from the support that you mentioned earlier at our last meeting. Back in the 70s, the agency system. There was so much more support there. Now you have to figure out so many things on your own. And how do you do that? The only way to do that is to align yourself with organizations such as Strategic Coach and Ed Slott and Clarity to Prosperity to be able to really get models that are proven, that are effective, and to surround yourself with proven advisors that have been there, they've done that, and it really, that's what I would say I have to attribute most of my success to, is I constantly surround myself with the best people I can get in front of at all times. So through Ed Slott's group, and through Strategic Coach and other organizations like Forum 400 and Top of the Table and Ash Brokerage. I mean, these are the elite in their field. So it really is elevated me. I mean, you just elevate your game to those next levels.
Ed, in your area of expertise, on a scale of 1 to 10,
well, I'm going to switch it around. I think the people that come into our group think they're a 10. But after about an hour or 2, they're at about a 1 if they had to grade themselves. But they see the opportunity. They realize, again, as I said, how much they don't know and how valuable this information is to take it to the next level.
Yeah, it just seems to me that you're breaking open a whole new way of looking at the development of financial advisors. I started, because I don't come from the industry at all, I came... I'm like somebody, they say the golden age of Broadway was when all these European educated classical musicians came to Broadway, and nobody wanted to buy their music, so they had to actually write music that people actually wanted. So I came from an entirely different industry. into financial services, working with the advisors. And I just got a feeling that they were so limiting in their model, that they were a representative of a company, or they were the marketer of a product, and they never allowed their knowledge or their awareness of the world to go outside the framework of those two things. And consequently, they didn't really have any sense that they were of any value. And it seems to me that what both of you are doing is that you're vastly expanding the value creation model, where the advisor sees himself or herself as incredibly more valuable than any previous training had enabled them to be. And in doing that, they become incredibly more valuable to their clients. Could you?
Yeah, well, those obstacles still exist. You talk about starting from the 70s. It's probably worse now. The compliance is worse. They're strangled by all these rules. They almost aren't allowed to get out of the box and have any great ideas without 14 lawyers, and then all their time is consumed with nonsense. So they're almost like breaking free, coming to all of our programs. It's an amazing openness. They see the sky for the first time. They haven't been let out, and they're excited, and they realize the opportunities. And I know in our area with the tax code involves taxes, and you don't have to be a tax expert. Somebody listening to, oh, I hate taxes. Well, you're going to love them when you see the kind of business it brings, but you don't have to know everything. You just have to know what you don't know. With us, you get a full support system, and that's what they rely on. It makes them impressive to everybody they meet, and that's what they love about it. They love people talking about that. Matter of fact, in one of our programs, we use a title from a song, Let's Give Them Something to Talk About. I have a concept called outflow. We always pile on things, get things out, let people know that you know, and let people know that you know where to go, and then you're involved with these groups, that you invest in education. That's what people with money want to do, because they want to keep that money and protect it from taxes.
Same thing. In terms of the, what is the, can you see the increased value creation that they see in themselves before they're actually able to walk out the door and do it for other people?
Well, absolutely. I think, Dan, one of the things that you always focus on is increasing your confidence. And there's nothing like increased confidence to be able to go out there and actually implement and create the relationship and implement the strategies of what's been put in front of you successfully. Similar to the strategy Ed just said. I mean, if you don't have that confidence, you're not going to have the confidence to go out in your community, create the outflow, and really put yourself out there as the elite advisor in your community, in your area. And that's what we try to focus on, is really, giving them those proven systems and platforms, and giving them the coaching and the support and the mentoring to get their confidence up and know that, listen, there's many, many other advisors out there doing all these things successfully. I can do it too.
Yeah.
I love in a program when somebody says to us, oh, that's a good one. I know the light went on. That just happened in a program last week. And I say, I know it's good. I've got a lot more of those things. Especially with the tax rules, they're constantly changing. In 2012, there's a watershed event. There's a major shift in taxes and estate planning, gift taxes, retirement planning, Roth IRAs. Incredible opportunities for value creation for their clients to keep more of the money they make. If the clients do better, they do better, and everybody wins. And I've always loved a win-win model.
Yeah, and Ed, I know how much you love the Tax Act. We
were
talking. Ed loves the Tax Act.
They make,
the
better it is.
Yeah, and you love the complexity of people's lives too, don't you?
Absolutely.
But we show advisors how to simplify it and talk about it to clients. And the clients say to our advisors like Jason, wow, nobody ever explained it to me. Now I get it. And this is where you can use these maybe esoteric, complicated topics, but bring them down to a level where people understand the value it brings to them.
Yeah. I know one of the characteristics of both of your programs is that people stay with it. It's not just a weekend affair. It's not just a 6-month
because
thing.
Education
no,
is
but
not
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
It's year 4, and somebody has really taken total advantage of everything that you had to offer over the first 3 years. Where is that person and that you've seen in the 4th year? Where are they?
Well, a lot of them have expanded their operations. They bring more people from their firm into our process. and they have locations. They the things they're doing with radio shows everywhere. They're becoming their own little national organizations. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for us, Dan, I mean, these people have so unbelievably made such a big difference in growing their net profitability. They can take more free days. Hopefully they're in strategic coach, so they know what a free day is. But they can take more free days with their family. They're taking more time. And I'm a good example. Before I joined strategic coach, I was all focus. I was focus days. So a focus day is where you're spending time just trying to create money, create sales. Back is really all I was doing. As I started to free myself up by having the processes and systems in place and having the net profitability, that I could take the days off, which we refer in coach as buffer days, to work on the business instead of in the business. Now my life has opened up, and it really gave me the opportunity to focus on building the support network of Clarity to Prosperity and Prosperity Capital Advisors. And these companies are really, were the only way or reason I was able to dedicate the time was because of all the processes and systems in place. That's what we're finding with our advisors as well. When we put all the structure and the processes and systems in place, and they can take more time to step away and focus on their net profitability and take those buffer days to work on the business instead of in the business, and take those free days to spend the time with your family and your friends. I mean, what's the purpose? To make all this money, to not enjoy your time with your family and friends, that's the reason that we're doing everything we're doing. So that's what's happening as an advisor goes through and they implement what we put together, we're giving them the freedom. We're giving them the freedom to be able to do what they want to do.
Right. So I'm going to ask a question of all three of us here. Why have you teamed up with the other two people sitting in this interview? I mean, what's the attraction to you? Because what I've noticed is that teamwork in the financial services industry is often a very, very complicated and unequal affair. But I don't feel that in this situation whatsoever. And so what's the attraction of dealing with the other two people that are sitting here?
You know, mine's easy, so I'll go first, Ed. I mean, mine's really easy. Your two organizations have given me the structure, the education, the ability, the tools, and everything that I've needed to build my own individual practice into functioning profitably, whether I'm there or not. The last 9 months, I've spent very little to no time in my own individual practice, but yet it still created an income to take care of all my personal expenses and continue to operate without laying anybody off. And I have a big team. So, I mean, the structure and the education and the way I've been able to differentiate myself in my community because of the education and the branding and really the PR that Ed's in his company have given me, and the structure and the team that I've learned how to build and all the processes and systems I've learned how to build through Strategic Coach. That's why I'm sitting here, and that's why I'm elated to be aligned with the two of you.
Oh, thanks. You know, the alliances are a funny thing. What you said before, we've come across many situations where it's more take than give, maybe for the other person. So we try and focus on alliances where everybody wins. Like I said before, a win-win. And I saw that with Strategic Coach when I joined. I realized lots of successful people had that common denominator. I always look for, you know, what's working for a lot of people. And it opened my ideas when I was a student there, and I'm still a student of all of your work and your writings. And I'm always getting ideas, and ideas is what turns into other people's ideas, and it has that multiplier effect. It's, you know, 1 and 1 is 111. So it's, the synergy is incredible, and together we're all providing incredible amounts of high-level support for financial advisors that can't get this anywhere else, even though they think they can. They can't get it from their broker-dealer. They're not allowed to most of the time. So they're not going to get this kind of synergy and support anywhere else, I believe.
And what about this guy?
He's a great product. I mean, he's a he's a great role model for all of our advisors. Just the story he told before. I get that story from a lot of our advisors, and I love success. I love our advisors to be successful. So the success I see with Jason, you know, there's a word for it. We vel over it. You know what that means?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're happy for him.
Well, from my standpoint, it's really interesting because over the years, you know, we've had a lot of people approach us, you know, we'd like to be aligned with Strategic Coach. And, you know, we have very, very severe filters that we've thrown up with this for exactly the same thing
Right.
that you talked about, Ed, it's not win-win. And, you know, you can almost see their calculator going in their mind and multiplying when they do it. And what I look for is people, first of all, who've tapped into their own genius. You know, and that's my first thing, that someone who is just passionately in love with a particular ability that they can bring to the world. And so one of my criteria, you know, and why I was so attracted to being in this interview series that we're here today, is that each of you, quite on your own, going out into your own world, has taken the thing that you're most passionate about doing, you've found who you want to be a hero to, and you've created it into a totally viable multiplier national network. And I said, boy, this is fantastic, you know. And, you know, whether you know it or not, I was watching you over the years, Ed. You know, I was you know, I was watching PBS. I saw you on PBS, and I saw, you know, and I was aware of all the talk among the financial advisors, what you were doing. And I said, isn't this fantastic? You know, because I can remember the first workshops that you were in when you first came. You had a good practice. You were obviously bright as can be. But the fact that you've turned this into a multiplier, I think, is just the greatest thing in the world. And now Jason, you and Joe and the whole team at Clarity to Prosperity, it just seems to me that you're passionate about what you're doing. That's my first criteria. You got to be passionate. The other thing is they want to be a hero to somebody. Those are my two criteria. But the other thing is that it's actually a viable multiplier business. And so, you know, when we were approached with this opportunity, I said, well, you know, as I look to who I want to be involved with the financial services go forward, I said, you know, this is absolutely the perfect model that I want to associate Strategic Coach with, because there's such a synergy of philosophy, and, you know, we come from the same model. How do we make people's life better next year? You know, speaking of which, you've provided deep support to the level you are. But Jason, where do you see the opportunities for providing even deeper support for the advisors as you see the industry changing and as you see the marketplace changing as you go forward?
You know, I think the opportunity is constant innovation. One of the things that we've made a commitment at Clarity to Prosperity is I'm going to continue to work in the field. I'm going to continue to be an Ed Slott Elite IRA advisor. I'm going to continue to see clients. That's not going to stop, because when that stops, the innovation stops. Mm-hmm. As me being one of the leaders of this company, I need to continue to lead through innovation. And so the opportunities are going to be through the multiplying effect as more and more Strategic Coach members become members of Clarity to Prosperity, as more and more Ed Slott Elite IRA advisors become members of Clarity to Prosperity, as we all start to work together as a team and are really growing and multiplying that. Because as I mentioned before, Dan, I mean, one of my unique abilities is packaging a lot of intellectual capital and experience and through processes that you've taught me how to build. So as that's how the innovation, as it's created and it's packaged and it's shared with others, that's going to be the opportunities that continue to present themselves into the future.
Mm-hmm. You know, because I started as a solo practitioner and I saw the horror stories and I realized consumers were being underserved, advisors weren't learning, didn't even want to learn. You know, that's the only thing worse than not knowing, not wanting to know. And I saw the opportunity, but now I see a bigger multiplier effect with consumers. You mentioned public television. Over 100 million people have seen our public television shows over the years, and we have another one coming. And our mission has always been to match consumers with competent advisors. And as more consumers start to realize, you know what? I am not getting this information from my current advisor. We're raising questions in consumers' minds by the tens of millions, and that's going to filter to our advisors, and to all advisors. It's going to raise the bar for everybody. So the future is so big and unlimited.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing, because do you have the feeling of this mass transformation of the entire marketplace? I mean, it's not just in your industry, it's in every industry. It seems like there's just a convulsion taking place in every single industry.
Age, and as you've mentioned so many times, Dan, the microchip,
yeah,
is really just taking us.
It's my number one rule, the microchip. Moore's Law, every 18 months, the microchip gets twice as fast.
And that's why you can't be just a salesperson, because people are so educated and so ahead of the curve that it's not like it used to be where you could just go sell a product. They're going to poke holes in it. They're going to do their research on the internet. You need to really create a whole nother level of value creation.
I see more advisors moving now, the smart ones, to education programs rather than spending all their money on short-term gimmicks. That'll get you the sale the first time, but those people will never work with you again.
Yeah. Here's something that's that's really interesting about the changes taking in the marketplace. The model that I've seen. So, for example, I meet someone like Ed, not Ed, but someone who might be come from a CPA background or somebody from a financial services industry. They'll start an organization where they have a real intent to provide service, and it usually comes from the thing that they did best. But then they try to spread out and be all things to all people. Like, for example, what I have seen over and over again, you would take on a tax division, and you would have a tax coaching division as part of Clarity to Prosperity. You, on the other hand, because you have the tax basis, you say, well, we're going to give them all these other services too, and Strategic Coach said, we're going to get into the tax business and, and marketing and everything else.
Might have a better process.
Yeah. But here's the thing. What is it about the way you've gone about it that you're not tempted to do that? That there's almost like you come to a border that's the end of your domain, and the other domain, you expect to have people of equal talent or in the other area across the border.
Well, you're talking about the financial supermarkets where they're
all things, and they're all things,
and it just dilutes everything.
Yeah.
There's no niche, there's no specialty. We create advisors who are specialists and are seen as a higher level specialist. That's why I never went into financial services. I stick with my CPA, my tax. I never sold stocks, bonds, insurance, annuities, and that gave me great credibility to the consumers out there who are getting it from all ends, from all people. They wanted something to solve that problem. It's a big problem, the taxation of their retirement accounts, and they want advisors who are experts, specialists, just like they go to a doctor who's a specialist.
And Dan, I think it all comes down to unique ability and unique ability team. If you stick to those principles that you've learned through Strategic Coach, which if you haven't already become a member, you should, that is going to give you the basis for success into the future. Because for me, for example, I focus on my unique ability of developing new relationships through continuing to see new clients, of packaging intellectual property and experiences into processes and systems that can be shared with other advisors. And so, those are in coaching and mentoring, I really have three kind of pillars of my unique ability that I've identified through Strategic Coach. If I stick to those principles, as the CEO of this company, then I'm going to continue to develop innovation. I'm going to continue to be in touch with the advisors and what they need, and continue to be connected through the different conferences to build the successful marketing and sales and practice management innovation that I learn, into processes for the advisors.
Yeah. Okay. How do people get started, Ed? If someone's watching right now and they're saying, I'd love to get started, what's the first step that I get started? How do I actually do this?
Well, one of our core programs, our foundational program, is our 2-day workshop. We call it Instant IRA Success. We even have e-training for people who can't get out of their offices. And just by going through that's that program I was talking about before, where in an hour or two into the program, they realize how wide the world, their opportunities are open to them, how much they don't know. And they actually like knowing how much they don't know. because the future is unlimited. So that, I would say, it's the starting point.
That's the starting point to get started.
And there we have advanced programs and all kinds of programs, but all our programs come from processes I created based on my years in strategic coach. So you need some kind of wraparound, some process to keep it going.
Right. Jason, what's the entry point? How do they get involved?
And our entry point is similar. We really have two companies, Clarity to Prosperity and Prosperity Capital Advisors. Clarity to Prosperity is the insurance side, and Prosperity Capital Advisors is the investment side. But we do a 2-day university, Clarity College and Prosperity University, where we basically teach all the processes that we've put together. And so one of the key things that we want people to walk away from is to learn a lot of information. Whether they join our organization or not, we want them to walk away with a lot of value created, because they're going to walk away and they're going to tell others, even if it's not a right fit for them right now in their life, they still learned a lot to where they're going to be able to go and implement some of these things of what they've learned in Clarity College and Prosperity University.
Yeah, and as far as we're concerned, you just take these guys' word for it and you just sign up for the program. But Strategic Coach, the way that we operate is in a series of 4 workshops. So everybody comes in, a lot of the core concepts that both of you have graciously talked about today. But the big thing is the unique ability, getting your mind wrapped around the unique ability, then the time system of making the best use of your money-making days, the backstage days, the free days to rejuvenate yourself. And then the third thing is to start taking a look at going higher in terms of the largest check.
The big check.
The big check.
10 times Mind Expander did it for me.
Yeah.
It just opened up my world. And we do that for people in our program too.
Yeah. And the neat thing for me is that we have preferential, people come and ask us, if, is there any program that you would recommend? And I love working with the two of you because it makes the referral so easy. You say, give Ed's organization a call, give Jason's, talk it over. They'll tell you all the good stuff. I'm just going to say that this is where I'd recommend that you go. And I love the teamwork. I just like to finish off here the teamwork and what we're kind of putting together here, because I think that these first interviews that we're doing, these video interviews, are really the beginning of a great new platform in the financial services industry where we're not looking to make money out of the platform. We each have our own business. We're going to do really well, but what we want to do is, by joining together all these really extraordinarily organized expertises, we can raise that whole platform of support. So that's what I'm seeing here. I think that this is just I've been around the financial services industry as a coach since 1974, and this is the most exciting prospect in all my years of working with financial advisors. The teamwork that we have with your two organizations, I think within the financial services industry, is absolutely the most exciting, big picture opportunity that I think we've ever had.
Well, I'm honored to be part of the Deep Support platform. I'm very happy to be invited, and thank you so much for making us an honorary founding member.
I just like saying Deep Support platform. Who wouldn't want to be part of that? They know they're not getting it where they are.
Yeah. So this is our second episode of the Deep Support platform. And, there's many dimensions that both Ed and Jason can go into in the future meetings. But what we're going to talk about most of all is the constant development of confidence in the financial advisor. I can't stress this enough, that your ability to actually take advantage of the extraordinary opportunities, and both Jason and Ed really talked about almost the unlimited opportunities for the educated financial advisor that's out there. So we're going to talk about the stages of confidence and just what knowledge and what skill and what kind of support you have to have at each level to jump to higher and higher levels of taking advantage of these extraordinary opportunities. Now, when we're finished here, we're going to immediately send out an email to everyone who's watching this. So be on the lookout for the Deep Support Platform email that comes, and all the information that we've covered, how you get in touch with Ed, how you get in touch with Jason, and how you get in touch with us will be in that email.